All right, hello again, everyone. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming, and it's been a while since I've been online. Sorry about that, but I'm here now. And the last video that I did, I was working on this payroll program, and we had 4 different kinds of employees at this mythical company: an hourly worker, a piece worker, a commission worker, and a salaried worker. Rather than me reading all this stuff to you, you can just take a look at it, and I'll leave it up there. I had it set up so that I could jump from any one form to any other form, including a help form that I put up here, which was just basically a message box and kind of reiterated a lot of the stuff that was here. All right. Then I decided to go the route where I do the salaried first because it was the easiest one. All right. So if I come in here and I leave it blank, it says error and salary input must be numeric and be between 0 and 100,000. And again, if I put in something that's non-numeric, same thing. Now, it is set up so even if I put in something numeric but is out of range, it gives you both messages. It says it must be numeric and between that. And you can see that every time when you do that, it clears it out. But if I come through here and I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.67, well, the salary now is within range. And it should, under gross pay, just show that same salary, but in a currency format. This is just a dummy field that I left in there. So if I do click calculate now, you see that it's in there. So it does work. All right. And I did explain this last time, but I'd like to go over it again, just because of the fact that it's been a while. So we have in here, remember, the minimum salary is 0, nothing. Could be an employee that volunteers or whatever. The maximum salary is 100,000. These are just, basically, these are just values that I came up with. All right, they don't really have any meaning. You could change them, of course, if you wanted to. Now, this stuff that's in here, this just basically allows me to hide the current form and show the new form. So I'm not going to go through any of those. I've already done that before. I'm going to jump all the way down to here. All right. So this is my calculate button, and it calls calculate salaried gross pay. And there it is. And basically all it does is it says it's got a routine in here that's called input valid salary. Now what you're going to notice, because next I'm going to do the commission one, and I will have in there, it'll be called calculate commission gross pay. And there will be 2 routines. One will be called something like input valid commission percentage, and one will be called input valid commission sales or something like that. And then if I do have 2 valid ones, boom, I just multiply one by the other and I get my gross pay. And it'll be similar with the other things as well. All right, but I just wanted to mention that. So this input valid salary, again, I went over this in the last video. So we're saying while true in here. So what are we doing? We're taking what was in that text box, that first text box that you saw, which is the salary itself, and I'm just putting it into something called salary STR. Remember, that could be blank, it could be non-numeric, it could be out of range, or it could be a valid value. So as it says, we want to verify or validate that the salary entered was numeric, greater than or equal to 0, and less than or equal to 100,000. So the first thing that we do is we come in here and we attempt to take that value that was in there, again, that we copied from our text box into just a string field, and we're attempting to parse it. If this works, it'll go into a field called salary. So we not only want to be able to parse that field, but we also want to make sure it's within range, so that it's greater than or equal to min salary, which again is 0, and it's less than or equal to max salary, which again is 100,000. If that's valid, I put it into the gross pay, which is that last text box, and I put it in with a currency format and return, because I'm done. All right. Otherwise, I say there was an error in the salary input, Again, it must be numeric and between 0 and 100,000. All right. We say that the title is the salary input error, and we've got an OK button and an error message, and we clear the field out. We make sure that our gross pay field is clear as well, and we set the focus to the salary and we return. That's it. This basically, again, all this does is it makes sure that when we enter this, when we click this, basically when we get into this routine, that the first field that's going to be highlighted when we get to that form is going to be the salary field. So I think that's enough talking about that, okay? So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one, I'm going to save it. Should be saved already, but I'm going to save it, and I'm going to close this one. All right. Now, if I do come back here and I run this again, I guess it is still running. But let's stop it and run it again. And I believe that if I go over to my next one, again, I'm working backwards here, from commission, and I put in something and I click calculate, all it says is that's what's got to go here. Okay, and that's fine. All right. So basically, for lack of better words, I'm done with that one. Okay, as far as I'm done with it, except the calculate doesn't work. So I'm able to jump back and forth between the other forms, but I've got to do something here. So let's take a look at that. So let's close this. It was kind of silly to say I'm done with it because I'm not. All right, so we're coming here. All this stuff is the same. It just is going to allow us to go from one form to another. All right. And again, there is a lot in here of duplication that we're going to work on in the next version of this. So here's our minimum commission percentage, which is 0. Our maximum commission percentage, which is 0.3 or 30%. Our minimum commission sales, which is 0, and our maximum commission sales, which is 100,000. Again, arbitrary values. If you don't like those, of course, they could have been changed to whatever you want to change them to. I'm a little squirrely about this stuff here. Okay. There. All right. So that's all looking fine. But if you go down to here, where we go down to this, again, all that's here right now, under calculate commission gross pay, the only thing that's underneath there is the call to calculate commission gross pay. And again, all that particular thing does, all that it does is it comes in and it gives a message box. It says, this is where you got to put this stuff. So let's go in and start making some changes. Now, this is more complex than the last one because with salary, there was no calculation. There was nothing that had to be done. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to first I'll create 4 variables. String, we'll call it, let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay. I've got some cheat sheet notes here as I usually do. So I'm going to call this, again, we can call it whatever we want, but I'm going to call it percentage STR, and that's going to equal txt commission percentage dot text. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to do my next one, which is going to be sales. So string, I've got percentage STR. Let's just call it sales STR, and I'll line that up in a minute. So txt commission sales dot text. All right, so I've got those first two. All right, and then we will have to end up calculating the actual commission gross pay. So I'm going to call a function that doesn't exist yet. So of course it'll give me an error here. So calculate commission gross. I want to go back and check something in my notes here. Let's see. With the salaried, I called this calculate salary gross pay. So let's call this one calculate commission gross pay. And it will need the percentage and it will need the salary. Okay? In fact, let's change this. I don't even like the way I'm writing this right now. So we'll make a couple changes. Instead of making these strings, because we really don't need to do that right now, all right, let's make it a decimal, and we'll call this percentage. And it's going to be equal to, not this, that's why I'm getting the error, but it's going to be equal to another function we have not written yet that'll be called input valid commission percentage. Okay, again, I'm getting the error because I haven't created that routine yet. All right, this will be another decimal, and we will just call it sales. And that'll be equal to another function that doesn't exist yet. So it will be input valid commission sales. Again, since those don't exist, that's why I'm getting the error. And finally, this calculate commission gross pay, I'll have to pass in percentage, and I'll pass in sales. Now I'm going to get error here, but I'm getting the error not on percentage and sales, but on here. So let's take and comment out this one, and let's go and comment out this one, and then let's go and write all three of these. So this first one is going to be this one right here. And as you can see, I'm going to be returning it to a decimal value. So I'm going to say private decimal, calculate the percentage. Now, if I just come in here right now and just say return 0M, okay, now everything is fat and happy. All right, in fact, I can do this. And now I can come in here and I can say private decimal. And I've got the commission sales. And again, I can return 0M. All right, so now I can take and uncomment that one. Now, finally, I can take this one and it'll be a private and void. All right, and it's going to be this. And again, I'm going to get some errors. We'll fix it right now. This has to be a decimal, so that'll fix that one. This has to be a decimal. All right, and we'll just say decimal gross equals percentage times sales. And then I'm going to say txt gross pay equals gross dot to string, and we will format that again for currency. Whoops. We will format that one again, being of type currency. So now I can also take this one. Now, I didn't do very much here because right now it's just going to give me 0 no matter what I put in there. But I just wanted to get a start so that, again, I can start putting something in here. All right, that's all I wanted to do in here. All right, so let's go in, like I said, let's go in and actually start writing this. All right, and again, I've got my little cheat sheet here. All right, so we'll do the percentage first. It doesn't really matter which one of these you do first. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say this is a function to verify that the inputted percentage is numeric and between 0.0, which again is 0%, and 0.3, which again is 30%. All right, so let's start writing. And I'm going to say while true, okay? And don't worry about that returning right there. In fact, you know, I could get rid of it right now, but it's going to give me an error if I do that. So I'll just leave it in there. All right. So string, we'll call this percentage str, and that's going to be equal to txt commission percentage dot text. All right. So that's the first thing that we want to do in here. Again, we have to verify that this stuff is going to be within range. Okay. In fact, let's do this. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to move that down to here. There we go. All right. So, as I said, I want to verify that the inputted percentage is numeric and between those two values. Okay? So, I'm going to say if decimal.tryparse, and I'm going to just grab all this stuff. I'm going to let the system give me that. And I'm going to say and. I'm going to call this percent. I don't want that. I'm just going to call it percent. No, we can call it percentage. Okay. All right, let's fix this. All right, so what do we have right here? Oops, one str. This is very, very, very similar to what we did before. All right, and what do I mean here? Well, what we're saying is we want to make sure that A, we can parse this, and B, that after we parse it, that number is between 0.0 and 0.3. If that is the case, all right, then txt gross pay, not the gross pay, I'm sorry, commission percentage dot text is going to be equal to percentage. In other words, it was okay. Dot toString. And we can format that to percentage if we want to. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And after we do that, all right, technically we really don't have to return anything here. So I'm going to change this to just return, all right, and make this a void. And I'm just going to come up here and just call it. All right, so I'm going to call input valid commission percentage. And then let's try doing this one. All right, now don't worry about this. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay, again, I'll just comment that out for now. What I want you to start to realize is there is one whole heck of a lot of similarity in between what we did before and what we're doing right now. All right, so if this is the case, we're going to do this. Well, if it isn't the case, what do we know? Didn't work. So we either put something in that was not numeric, or we put something in that was out of range. All right. So we'll do a message box dot show, and I'm going to say error in commission percentage input. And I'm trying to be very specific here. So commission percentage must be numeric and between min commission percentage and max commission percentage. That's good. All right, now we got to give this a title. So we'll call this commission percentage error. And as we did before, we will say message box button's okay, and message box button information. In fact, rather than okay, it really is an error, so we probably should make that an error. Oh, it doesn't like here. Buttons dot. Yeah, okay is right. This should be error. Sorry. It's not really information, it's an error. There. So now we've got that thing covered. Okay. The other thing here that we might want to add, again, it's not that it's mandatory that we do this, but it's kind of a nicety to go in and do this, and that is I'm going to say txt commission percentage dot text is equal to nothing. I'm going to clear it out, and let's set the focus there. All right, now that's the only thing we're doing in here thus far. All right, that's the only thing. Okay, we haven't called this thing yet. It's not really doing anything, but let's just go in there and see if we got any errors now when we do this. So let's save all. Let's come in here and run this. What I'm looking for now is when I go over to commission and I leave this blank, error, commission must be within that range. Okay, good. Oh, and it looks like I'm in an infinite loop here. That's okay. We'll fix that. And I guess we've got here while true, do this. So we want to keep doing it. What if I just return here because we made this a void? So let's see if that fixed it or made it worse. So commission, we leave it blank, we get our error message, boom, we're right back there. We put in non-numeric, we get our error message, we're back there. We put in something out of range, error message, and we're back there. That's good. All right. Now, what I want you to start to realize again is the other one that we're going to do is going to be very similar to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire routine here. I'm going to copy the entire thing to the clipboard. And I'm going to paste it. Of course, it's going to give me an error because now I've got two things that have got the same name. Don't worry about that. This will be changed to sales. Okay? So this will be sales string. Everywhere I see percentage, I want to change it to sales. And this is txt commission sales. All right, so verify that the inputted sales is numeric and between 0.00 and 100,000.00. All right, So again, this is sales string, and this will be just called sales. So will this. So will this. This will now be min com sales, and this will be max com sales. All right. If that's the case, we want to say txt commission sales dot text equals sales dot toString. All right. And we can return. Otherwise, error in commission sales input. Commission sales must be numeric and between mincom sales and maxcom sales. We'll say commission sales error, and this will be sales here, and this will be sales here. All right, and let's see if we fixed both of those. Now, as of right now, we still have not come in here and done this. All right, plus if we only want to do this if this is true. So let's come in here and do this. Let's put in a Boolean, and we'll call this works, and we'll set it equal to false. All right, so I'm going to say this works equal don't worry, it's going to give me an error, don't worry about it. So now I'm going to change this so it says if this works, then we want to call this. All right, I'm just going to say else return. If I can spell it. There we go. Now, what that means is, for now, I'm going to have to return true or false in here. So this is going to have to change to a bool. And if this worked, I'm going to return true. And if this didn't work, I'm going to return false. All right. And I think I'm missing a curly brace here. Here we go. All right. And now we want to do the same thing here. So again, we will make this also. This will be a bool. And again, if this is the case, we'll return true. And if this is the case, we will return false. All right. Finally, we've got this input valid commission sale. So this works. Equals input valid commission sales. You've got input valid commission percentage, input valid commission sales. I don't want this in here now, so let's just do this. Just put some junk in there for now. All right, so this is going to have to be our last routine. All right, else return. Now, if we get down to here, this works is going to now be equal to in fact, if we get down to this point, we don't even need that. We can just do this. We'll call commission gross pay. We won't pass anything now. Let's calculate commission gross pay. We know now when we get down to this, we have a valid value in there. Okay, so private, it's not going to be a decimal anymore. It's going to just be a void. And there's nothing to return. We're just going to say percentage equals, I don't want to say that, decimal percentage equals TXT commission percentage, and we already know that it's got to be, so we can say a decimal dot parse this dot text. We know it already works because we've already checked it up above. All right, we'll say decimal sales equals decimal dot parse TXT commission sales dot text, just like that. And then gross pay, so gross decimal gross pay equals percentage times sales, which is fine. And TXT gross pay dot text equals gross pay dot toString, and again we will make that currency. Oops, sorry. We'll make that currency. Okay, now I'm getting an error here, so let's see why. Calculate. It says already defines a member call this, so well, there it is. I guess I just kind of rewrote it. But let's go back and just get rid of that. There. Come on, error, go away. Calculate commission gross pay. Oh, I think I've got two things with the same name. Yes, I do. So let's change this because we're not really calculating here. Let's just say, instead of calling calculate commission gross pay, let's call validate all values. Not a great name, but we'll call it that anyway. All right. And that'll be here too. There, all my errors are gone. So we'll go back and look at it in just a minute. And this is already getting to be too long. It's already 33 minutes, but I want to get done with this one. Then in the next one I will do the other ones. Okay. All right. So let's come in here. We're going to commission. If we make this, okay, error in input, boom. If we put in non-numeric, error in input. If we put in something out of range, error in input. Those are all good. So let's do something simple. So let's say 0.25, because that's valid. That's within this range. All right. Error in commission percentage must be, Well, that's interesting. Still didn't like that. So let's see what the problem is. 0.3 decimal, that's good. Validate all values, okay. This works. We can just do this. Call right away input valid commission percentage, which is returning a Boolean. We don't even need this while loop in here really anymore. You got extra code. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to leave it in there when there's no sense in it being in there. All right, so we come in there, we set the percentage to, oh, there it is. That should be TXT commission percentage, not gross pay. That would help. Okay, so this one down here, this is percentage, and that's sales. So this should be correct. Now let's see. All right, so commission, if we leave it blank, we get our error. If we leave it non-numeric, we get our error. If we put in something invalid, we get our error. Out of range, we get our error. So let's say 0.25, and let's see now if we get an error on the sales. Yes, must be between 0 and 100,000. So, okay. There we left it blank, so there's a problem. All right, we only want to do this here if that worked. So if this works, then we want to do this. Otherwise, we don't. So let's try it again. We've already checked in here. We've already checked for all invalid values in here. So let's do it here. So calculate, okay, non-numeric, okay, out of range, okay, out of range the other way, okay. Now I'm going to put 1,000 in here, and 1/4 or 0.25 of 1,000 should be 250 here if this is working, and it is. So I now have my salaried working, and I have my commission working. And I will do the piece worker in the next lecture, coming up shortly. Thanks.